So now would be a good time to save. Let's go ahead and do a save as though. Let's not just hit save because we don't want to save over our value illustration. We want to create a whole new illustration. So I'm going to go to File and Save As. And I'm going to make a new folder because this is Milestone 2. So I'm going to name it my last name underscore project 3 underscore or dash milestone 2. And I'm going to rename my file. Instead of value, I'm going to name it hue. So it's my last name underscore hue EPS. And we don't need to save the artboards because we only have a single artboard. So we really don't need to check that. It's okay if you do, but it's going to add a 1 after the file name. And it's not a big deal either way. But let's make sure the format is EPS. Okay, so I have my layers and I've got all of them locked right now. But in order for me to change the colors of the objects on these layers, I'm going to have to unlock them. So I want to work methodically. I organize my file so that each layer has a different value on it, and I numbered the values from 1 to 5. And then I have an extra layer here for just details that does have a variety of different values on there. It's just some stuff that I needed to add in order to complete my illustration so that it looked good. What we could do, I guess it's a good idea, is to just rename this. Now it's no longer going to be values, but it's going to be hues. So let's just rename these layers to reflect that. It doesn't matter that much where you want to start, but I think for me, this hue number 4 is the background value. So I'm going to unlock that layer, and I'm going to choose the hue that I created that corresponds to the 70% gray, and that's this second darkest swatch here. And if I click on my background, and I select my swatch, well, I thought it was going to change it, but look at what's happening here. I've got my stroke swatch in my toolbar. I've got that at the front, which means it actually, instead of changing the color of the fill, it changed the stroke. So let me just swap these. And let's just make sure that the stroke is at none. So I'm going to click on the stroke swatch and I'm going to choose this little none icon. So remember, we're just working with fills here. We don't want strokes. If you do have strokes on here accidentally, then you can do what I just did, is you can swap the fill and the stroke, and you can just make sure that the stroke is at none, because you don't want to have anything like your colored fill with a gray outline or something like that. That's not what we're going for. Again, just solid areas of color, no strokes. All right, so there's that. That's our 70%. Now there are some other areas that are 70% gray as well, like around the mouth, and maybe I could change those now. Let's go ahead and relock our layer so we don't accidentally select it. Let me unlock the details layer and change. Is it really 70% gray? Let's see. Is that right? Let me check. Let me make sure that I'm right about this. If I go to my swatch and check it, yep, it's 70%. I can see it right there. Okay, so let's change these 70% gray objects that are on this details layer. And again, this is how I set up my illustration. Yours may be set up differently than mine. So you just do what makes sense for you. The idea is that you're going to replace the gray value with a correspondingly dark or light color hue that you created. And you don't want to have more than 5. All right, so let's go ahead and change those. All right, now next thing we can do, let's work on the 50% hue. So I'm going to unlock that. And I have my other layers locked, so I'm not accidentally selecting them. It just makes things a little bit easier. One thing that I can do, I mean, I know that this is 50% gray, and I can just select that object and change the color. But if I have all my other layers locked, then that means I can click and drag over my entire illustration, and it's only going to select those things that are on my unlocked layer. And right now, my unlocked layer has hue number 3. So I know that if I select my swatch that corresponds to hue number 3 and click that, then it's going to change everything on that layer. So that way, that makes it pretty easy that you don't have to try to find every little object on here that may be that 50%. All right, so what can we do next? Let's lock that layer. Let's do our 30%. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same technique. I'm going to unlock my 30% hue layer, and I'm going to click and drag over my entire illustration to pick up every object that's 30%, at least on that layer. So let me select my 30%, and we got that. Now I have something here that looks like I'm missing. So it may be that I have this little, this object, it looks like it's on the wrong layer. This is 30%. It didn't select, so it wasn't on my 30% layer, so I made a little mistake when I set this up. So where is that? Let's see if it's on the 50% layer. If I unlock that, let me see if I can select it. I got that. So it's not on that layer. It might be on my 5% layer. It is. Okay. So what I'm going to do, so here's what's going on. There's a 30% object that should be on my 30% layer on my 5% layer. So just to fix this, I'm going to go ahead and copy that and then delete it and then lock my 5% layer, which it was on, and unlock my 30% layer, which it's supposed to be on, and hold Shift-Command-V to paste in place. I need to select my layer. Okay, so I want to select my 30% layer, paste in place, and let's go ahead and change that. All right, so now that's on the correct layer with all the other 30% objects. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the 5%. 5% hue, I'm going to unlock that layer. I've got all the other layers locked. I'm going to click and drag over everything on the illustration that looks like it's 5%, and I'm going to change it to 5%. All right, so now we just need to make sure that we got everything. Let's see. I think I did. Let's see, the hue. I do think that I got everything. Hue, and then what about details? I got everything on there. Okay, so maybe I did choose this dark brown to replace my black, and I kind of like this. I mean, this could be nice to just leave the black as black.